When art awakens, we tune in to our creative flow. It's the collaboration between who we are and what I choose to call the divine source of creation. I just tune in and let it flow. Welcome to Art Awakens, where the creative juices flow. My dear Anna, so we're sitting here in the studio today.
And then we look into each other's eyes for at least 3 minutes to get into the right mood.
Yes. No, till the first one laughs. Okay. Relax there. Okay, give me one more try. Take two. Okay, here we go. Anna? You're not allowed to do this thing with your nose, because that just
the funny thing is that when this is like a serious assignment and when it's like a really serious setting, I can be really, really serious.
I know, you would win this for sure. Like, I'm sure you just...
No, but even if it's not about winning, if it's like really a meditation, or I have to practice being the Buddha and the best listener, I can also do that. It's just whatever you want. You just press the buttons. You get what you want.
Can I have the remote? Like, do I know? Yes, do I get to know where the buttons are?
Okay. What do you
okay,
call
so
it?
right now I push the bottom of Anna's higher self.
You got it.
Okay then. So tell me, Anna's higher self, is there anything you want to share with us today?
Sure. I can tap into my higher self at any moment. No, I want to share... I think it may be nice to talk about double or multiple functions as an entrepreneur and an artist, a creative. Because I know for sure that I am at least those two. I'm at least an entrepreneur and I'm at least an artist and a creative. And they can get in the way of each other. It's not
so they
hard.
can either like get away, but they can also collaborate, right?
They can collaborate, and but they can also be in each other's way. And it's proven itself that during the first 44 years of my life,
how old are you now?
They can collaborate. I'm still in my 40s.
Okay.
They can collaborate, but they do need some help here and there. So I know, like for a fact, that if I make something that's really my own, it's like an individual expression of my own art, it cannot be used for instance, for my school. I know, I feel it.
I completely get you. Yeah, yeah. I have exactly the same.
Yeah, because that's people cannot touch it. They can't just do something with it that I don't control. It's also, maybe it's a bit rigid. But
is it central that you cannot collaborate when the projects are really yours, soul projects, that you cannot collaborate?
With other makers?
Yeah.
I can collaborate with other makers, but I choose which makers, and I give them really very narrow instructions. So I give them room to play and to give maybe their own interpretation of things, their own input, but within certain limitations. Yeah.
Okay. But so you're telling me about those two characters. When do they get in each other's way? The artist character and the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And in my case, the entrepreneur is. So I teach people how to sing. So this means that in the process, people with maybe not their full potential of singing skills, they will sing stuff. And I don't mind at all, like making a program where I put my students on a stage and then I'm on the same stage. I mean, I sing in one of my choirs. That's not a problem at all. But if it was my repertoire that they were singing, then sometimes I'm like, okay, this song, we can use it. This other song, we can't. It's complicated, but it can work.
And when does it work?
Like, for instance, one of those things is the limitations. When I was making my album, I knew that the people that were playing on the album, they had like a specific role. And sometimes they would get carried away. Like, for instance, like a guitar player or a piano player, they would get really carried away and start like, oh yeah, well, we should do this, and then I would let them like give all their input during like a whole rehearsal session. Then I would go home and I'd think, okay, that's interesting. I'm going to use like 10% of what they said, and the rest we're going to put it aside and we're not going to do anything with it.
And how do they then respond to that? So when you come back and you say, okay, this part we're going to use, but this part we're not going to use.
No, I don't even say it. I just tell them what we're going to use.
Oh, you focus on what you're actually going to use. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and it's very important because then, another factor that comes in. So I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a woman. All right. So then you're working with mainly men. Because in every industry, also creative industries, there's often more men than women on the floor. What happens usually when you put a man and a woman in a rehearsal setting together is that the man thinks that he needs to explain the craft to you. He cannot imagine that you would maybe be like evenly talented or skilled as him. Thank you, Siri. Siri agrees.
Siri's a man.
Yeah.
Could make you wonder that Siri's a man. I don't know. I wonder.
I think Siri's it.
I think by this one, but this other point, Siri's the man.
All right.
He's like, yes, you called me. Should I explain something?
And I'd been warned about this situation by a colleague of mine. She was recording some albums, and she said, okay, so whatever you do, when you go into the studio, make sure that whatever the musicians play, it's still an expression of your initial feeling with the song. That it's not, that doesn't turn into something else while you're in the studio recording it, because that like kills the song actually. So I was very prepared, and whenever there had to be like decisions made, whoever was in charge, like I had a band leader, then I had like some other musicians, then I had a recording engineer and another recording engineer. And it was very tiresome because every time like something needed to happen, I had to be the ones like, okay, well, thank you very much for your input. Let's start again. Or I would make sure that I would give the word, for instance, to the producer or the guitar player. Okay, well, I would say stuff like, well, we talked about this before, so I will give him the word now and let him explain what the idea is for the groove and the tempo, and then we're going to start. So, the ball was always in my court. Very important.
And did you ever have that you explained this and everything was clear in your mind, but then you had somebody going like, no, but listen,
of course,
with all my passion, I don't understand. Don't you see? Don't you feel what I feel? And like, so
happens all the time.
Yeah.
So I listen.
Because art is very personal, right?
Yeah.
It's really like our own soul that we.
And you need, like, if you're collaborating, you need them to be invested in the project. So you're not going to cut them short. I'm going to listen and say, that's really great. Well, let's try my idea first. And then if there's more time, let's try your idea. And
wow.
Then, yeah.
So you were just telling me about a project you're working on now, right?
Yeah. So the project I'm working on now, it's a song, and this is meant for collaboration because this is also the harmonies of this thing. They are existing, and actually the vocal lines that you hear in the background, they're existing also. I didn't make them. They were originally, I found them in some book. They're an exercise, but it's a well-known, like all elements in music. There's like cliches. There's things that you actually hear everywhere and you're not aware of it, but they give you a certain mood. Well, so this, like the harmonic basis of this is well known. The exercise was made out of that. Then I started singing it with all my students because I think it's a great exercise. It trains their ear, it trains their breath control, it trains their a lot of things. Being able to sing in harmonies, like this is a perfect exercise. It's been living with me for a year and a half already. So everyone knows how to sing this. So we're going to sing this all together when we do our concert on the 29th of January. It's going to be really cool. Then I was working with one of my students who we always work in his studio. And I had this crazy idea. I thought, like, how about I record the piano accompaniment and the vocals of this exercise and maybe he can do something with it. And so we did. So I'll play you what he did with it thus far, and then I'll explain a little bit about what he's singing.
So this is in Dutch, but
Yeah.
I mean, even if for people that don't understand Dutch, when they hear it, I just heard a little piece and I was excited.
Okay, let's go. I'll just start it like in the beginning.
Dat in me blijft planten. Terughoudende tranen branden tegen geen oogst meer is. Ik heb zoveel stress, het moet van mijn chest. Maar blijf gaan door obstakels, dus komt er meer in mijn chest. Life heeft veel grip, ik kan het punt van een mes. Wat er fluistert in mijn oren, dat is 3 keer een 6.
Oh yeah, and then, so after this part, there's going to be a refrain. I'm still writing it, but it's going to be something like this. So he's singing about, I feel I'm all emotional, and it's like, it sounds like he has like heartbreak or something, and he's feeling like he's all alone and he can't handle the situation. He's describing something like that. And then I want to sing, I want to be like the comforting person and sing like, no, you're not alone. And then that's illustrated by the fact that all of us together in that place on the 29th of January, we're supporting him, and we're like, it's going to be 60 people singing those background vocals. So it's going to be really cool.
Oh wow.
And that way we'll also come together like in the meaning of the song.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and so in this case, for me, it feels like perfect. I can let other people sing this. I don't feel like it's my emotional child. It's as if it's an assignment, and then it's fine. Then I'm really flexible and it can go everywhere. But if it's like something I wrote and it's really about like, you know, my soul exposing itself and feels really intimate and vulnerable, then no one can touch it. Or only in those like, you know, very rigid parameters.
Because what happens when people touch it?
Yeah, it becomes something else, and then then I don't feel that connection anymore. So whenever I would play it for people or I would perform it on stage, it's not what it is.
Yeah, because I heard you say before, you were explaining about the whole thing, and then you said this idea had stayed with me already for 1.5 years.
Yeah.
I just love this concept. I'm reading a book called Big Magic. I think it's called Big Magic, which explains about ideas. Do you know the whole concept? Like
no.
These ideas, they're flying around and have their own entity. But ideas can actually only come into existence if they find somebody to collaborate with. So these ideas, they're flying around, and then they're like, oh, Anna, she looks like she's got space. Idea pops down into Anna, and then you pick up the idea and you do something with it. But let's say at a certain point, or you'd be like, no, that's a crazy idea. Then the idea would be like, huh? But okay, so I shouldn't be with Anna, because obviously I'm not going to get into existence here. I'm just going to fly on, pop down into somebody else.
Yeah.
And then whenever there's, the good match, then the idea will actually, take place. And the more that we are open to the world of the ideas and actually pick them up whenever they come in and do something with them, the more it gets known that in the world of ideas that their girl Anna, she's an open one, so more ideas will come. I think it's just.
But it's interesting. Yeah. So she's very susceptible to these ideas. Let's go there.
Yeah.
There's an outlet for us there.
Yeah. You said that this idea was with you for 1.5 years, right? What do you mean with that?
Well, in this case, it was that I think it would be really, really cool for the whole audience to sing that exercise, that harmony.
Oh, wait. Everybody in the room is also going to sing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do they know what to sing?
Well, they're all my students. So all the students that are there, that means like there's at least 20 people that are in a choir. That's 40 people already. Then like there will be like 10 private students or 15. So yeah.
Cool.
And then once they are singing, and there's like people watching, they will pick it up easily as well. Yeah, but there's other ideas that stay with me sometimes for years. I'm making designing a show now, which is actually it's going to be a play. It's going to be actual theater. And I remember it was in 2017, so that's almost 6 years ago now. This idea came about that I would be like walking on stage like with one of those Brazilian carnivalesque outfits. And I was like, man, that's such a good idea. Someone told me, I really see you doing that. And I caught it and I was like, yeah, man, let's do it. Nothing has happened. Like in the meantime with that idea, now my theater director, she said, well, in the end of the show, I see you like doing some parading, and you're gonna wear something on your head, and it's like, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I've seen that before. Let's do it. Yeah.
See, so this is also, wonder this then. The idea was rooming a little bit at yours, right? And you had something, it's like stored in there. And then it thought, okay, listen, we're going to need another person to remind her about this idea. We're going to pop down in her. And then she shares this idea.
Exactly.
I think it's just magic.
Yeah, so the ideas have to become more creative every time as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They have to pull everything out of the closet, as we would say in Dutch. That's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
What do you think about when you hear Art Awakens?
Well, I think it means that whether you are the maker or the viewer of the art, art can awaken something in you, make your soul come alive again. I think that's actually what art is supposed to do, right? It's supposed to do it to the person that's making the art, and it's supposed to do it to the person that's consuming, receiving the
Witnessing,
art.
Maybe? Witnessing the art. Cool.
Yeah.
And when are your most creative moments?
My most creative moments, they are usually when I'm in pain.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I'm experiencing something and I know, well, this is not right. This is not the way things should be. And I break down. The first thing I do is I start writing. And then I write words. So I don't start writing music. That's never where I start. I start writing words, and I do create a mood within those words, and sometimes I even create characters that play like in a certain mood, and then 50% of the time, those, like, sometimes it's poems and sometimes it's stories, they become music, and sometimes they become just prose or poetry.
Oh, I remember we recorded one about the house.
Mm-hmm.
That was in Dutch, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any little piece of an English?
Probably. Now, see, we didn't prepare this, but I will have something. I know.
She'll just pull it out of the
Hat.
Put it out of the hat.
Yeah. Let's just go into my phone notebook, and I know there's stuff here. Lately, I've been writing a lot in Dutch, and I write like weird stuff. Like I wrote like a rap the other day. I never wrote like rap, but I'm writing rap here.
Cool.
So the form is like stuff just happens. Okay. Okay, you want to hear it?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
I just stay quiet, for I was never part of your we. I've been quiet for a while now, because I think you just don't see how I bend my life towards you in every area, how my plans are all about you, but you just don't see. This is why I hold my breath, though I know it won't do us any good. How I listen to your stories, I know them beginning till end. Keep my mouth shut because you don't listen and certainly don't see. How I squeeze into the cracks of your schedule. Sometimes I listen to you for hours as you go on and on. Oh yeah, so there is, I don't know, I didn't prepare this. So there, this thing actually goes from more poetry to prose. So I'll leave it there. But yeah, so it's just like stream of consciousness.
And what does this poem in this case say about you?
Well, if anyone hears this, they will know like who I am, right? I mean, what do you hear when you hear this?
I hear passion.
Mm-hmm.
I hear obsession.
Mm-hmm.
I hear vulnerability. I hear love.
Mm-hmm.
Sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of sort of, if I would put one sentence, it would be like lost love.
Mm-hmm.
Which is beautiful, but it's scary.
Yeah.
So I mean, when I hear you read this, I think that we all one time experienced something like this, right? And I mean, that's the beauty. You're reading this up, but I'm immediately kind of like translating when this happened to me, right? When I landed in this landscape, let's put it like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if everybody experienced it, but the people that have experienced it, the person that have experienced it, they will recognize it. And you paint a landscape that I can actually walk through, and I can just listen to it as your landscape, or I can step into the landscape and make my own pictures. That's also the beauty, I think, with just spoken word, for example, that you tell something and I'll create my whole visual landscape around it.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful. And I mean, that's also what I love about art, creativity, but especially art in this case. It's Art Awakens also stands for me as the language of the soul, right? So that's actually, if we're making music, if we're dancing, if it's spoken word, we kind of have a highway, an input to the soul, where things, And because there is, it has the landscape of being art, it has a existence. It has a right to exist.
Yeah.
It has a right to come out.
Yeah.
Which normally, I mean, you wouldn't, if meet somebody on the street and they'll say, "Hey, how are you?" You would not like immediately start saying this. You would say, "Oh, I'm fine. How are you?"
Yeah, exactly.
And then this would be going on.
Yeah.
So I also love the fact that the minute that I hear this, I tune in differently.
Yeah.
Like it awakes another part of me that starts to listen.
Yeah.
And immediately you enter, right? You enter the soul.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So it's actually two things that are very important about art or performance art or music. One of them is, it doesn't matter if you write something that's really, really personal and vulnerable to you, because everyone listening will hear their own story told back to them. I mean, how many times hasn't it happened to me that I performed somewhere and people come up to me after the show and they say something like, "Yeah, I really love that tune about the feminism, and I remember so well when I was younger in the 70s and blah blah blah. This is what you were talking about, right?" And I'm like, well, first of all, I wasn't alive in this. Well, I was alive in like the last part of the 70s.
Yeah.
But that's not the story I was writing about, but that's your story. But that's fine. That's really cool.
Yeah.
The second thing is when I coach other singer-songwriters, and they always feel like, "Oh, but this is way too vulnerable. I couldn't do this on a stage." And I tell them, "Well, do it anyway, because it's like it feels really vulnerable to you, but actually that vulnerability is your strength. It's not vulnerability. You're not going to be blown away, but the fact that you dare to express these deep, whatever, like passions, emotions, sadness, whatever, they show that like you're really strong.
They hold.
It's a
They actually
contradiction.
hold.
Yeah. So we sometimes feel really, really vulnerable, but that's actually strength. It's very fascinating.
Yeah, and I think also it has to do with that, because when we are really vulnerable and we dare to actually show that, we immediately touch the vulnerable part in someone else, right? And so they wouldn't, I mean, then they'd really, have to be some kind of narcissist or whatever, something like that. But I think the minute you see somebody is hurting, you would never like start stepping on them or making the whatever, right? You at least the right people would. The people that we wish to reach.
Yeah.
I mean, I see that also now. I just started making this podcast channel. I just shared this one video, which is in my eyes is pretty okay. And immediately I see 2 people started unfollowing. Immediately, I didn't have any unfollowers. Immediately, two people popped out. But then there's another post of a woman saying, "Oh my God, I'm sitting here with tears in my eyes, and then the video just stopped. What am I supposed to do now?" And it's like, what? Wow.
Yeah.
So it's such a contrast, and it's just beautiful. And it's I think one of the hardest parts with creativity and art is actually on one side, I was about to say not taking things personal, but at the same time, everything it is super personal. Like it actually, the minute that we share it, so when we create it and we make it, it's very personal. But the minute that we share it, somehow it kind of like it turns into another universal personal or something like that, right? And when then people reflect back to it, I can actually only kind of like what you just said. It's out of my personal reach even, but on the other hand, it isn't, right?
No, but it's become art, and in that way, it's become part of all of us. And then it's just a thing in itself. It's like you gave birth to, and it's now living its own life, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful like that, though. Yeah.
Yeah. So
do you call yourself an artist, Dennis? Or?
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
I was just about to go there.
You call? Yeah. Really?
I do. Yeah.
So we'd meet in a bar or a cafe or whatever else, and the person would go, "Hey, hello, who are you? Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?"
Yeah, so I usually start like by saying that I'm a singer and a songwriter, and then, yeah, judging on the response that I get, it goes on from there. Then sometimes they think, oh yeah, okay, well, she's a singer-songwriter. Then I will tell them that I'm also a composer.
Oof, then you level up. Then immediately you level up, right?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, yeah.
And then what? But actually calling yourself an artist? Do you ever call yourself an artist?
No, I actually don't, but I do think about myself that way. And I think it's very important. I just had this conversation recently, and it gave me a huge insight. It's really like fascinating. So I've been making art like my entire life. And I've been denied being an artist often, very often. So this was a real struggle also for me. My father thought he's an artist. My father was an artist and an entrepreneur. And my mom is an artist too, but she sort of denies herself the right to be an artist. She doesn't think she's good enough, which is bullshit, of course, because she's a proper artist.
Je moet eerst...
No, dat hoeft niet. But my father took himself very seriously when it came to art.
Did he call himself an artist?
Yeah.
Okay.
And but he was also an entrepreneur, and he was a graphic designer and a designer. And if he would have been alive today, I can definitely tell you that I would tell him that I'm more of an artist than he ever was. Because it's true. Like, he would make art, how do you say it in English? Toegepaste kunst. It's like art that's made with a role, with a purpose. Like, you need a chair, and this chair is, of course, can be a work of art, but it's still made to be a chair, right? Like, that's the thing.
Bruikbaar kunst,
Yeah.
Usable art, kind of like.
Yeah.
Purpose,
Yeah. And so, like, and I would draw a lot when I was a kid, and then I would sometimes bring one of the drawings that I made, like, to the family table, and I would show my father, and then the subject of the conversation would be, so what are you going to do with the rest of your life? And at one point my mom said, well, I think she's like actually really good at drawing, so what do you think? Maybe she could go to like the art academy. And my father would be like, no, this is not art academy material. Maybe she could do illustrations. So I've really felt like from my family, no, I'm not an artist. I'm just doing something. I'm just like having some fun. And I am really creative, but I'm just having some fun. Now, that thought, it can be really haunting. I fought with that thought, like for years and years and years and years. But I just, like the last couple of years, I've let it go. And I'm just like a real artist. Now, this conversation that I was talking about that I had the other day, it was about a family of musicians. So all of the members of this family, they are musicians. And it was about a conversation that my friend had with, I think, the father of the family. He asked him, "Oh, you are studying so much. Like you're studying your music so much. Do you have like a performance coming up?" And the father of the family replied, "We don't study for performances. We study for the music itself." And I thought, oh my God, that's the answer. It doesn't matter if you have a performance coming up, or if, you know, what, like if there's someone going to listen or if they're not going to listen. You are devoting yourself to the art of music, and you want it to be pure and perfect, or whatever you want it to be, authentic. You're doing it for the music itself. And this is why you do what you do, and you want it a certain way. It's not about anyone's opinion or anyone's whatever, or money or anything. That's it.
Now, Anna,
Thanks.
Thank you. Be blessed, Anne, with everything you do.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.